What up, baby? Wake and Rake Podcast, episode 124. Season is over. Congratulations, Los Angeles Dodgers 2024 World Series champions. Today's episode focuses a little bit on the future in this upcoming offseason. Free agency is already here. When we're recording this podcast on November 6th, we've already had a couple signings out in Southern California. The Angels already added 2 players. We will get into the details of those two signings. We will list out and take a look at the biggest free agents that are expected. Well, they will be on the market. So we will look at we'll go position by position, go around the diamond. You're a certain team that's looking to make a certain signing. We're going to be listing a whole lot of players on today's episode. Maybe start making your Christmas wish list today. Bet online, of course. Got to start with Bet Online, guys. Got to make our money somewhere. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL, UFC, and MMA, head to Bet Online today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. Now, we will discuss free agency, as I just alluded to. A couple bulleted points that I will get to as well. The Oakland Athletics are no longer the Oakland Athletics. Details forthcoming. St. Louis Cardinals are making a position change to one of their all-star players. Where are we going? Lost my spot. There we are. I'll kind of conclude today's episode with something quirky, something from Hollywood. Now, we've all seen the movie Field of Dreams, and I watched it recently, and I've seen Field of Dreams 50 times at this point, but there was something I noticed in the Field of Dreams that I had never noticed, or maybe I didn't realize it at the time when I originally watched it. There's something in the Field of Dreams that really stunned me about the career of Moonlight Graham. You should know who Moonlight Graham is if you've ever seen the movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. Great flick. I will get into the details at the end of today's episode. Let's talk free agents. Well, Sixto Sanchez is going to be a free agent because he was outrighted by the Miami Marlins. And that, of course, officially ends the course of the JT Realmuto trade. Let's look back at that trade. And Miami Marlins fans, you might want to shut the ears because this is going to get rough. Philadelphia Phillies, they acquired JT Realmuto in a trade with the Miami Marlins, and the Miami Marlins acquired Sixto Sanchez in that trade. Sixto Sanchez was just outrighted, and he is now a free agent. Sixto Sanchez 2020, it looked like lightning in a bottle type player. It looked like he was not even lightning in a bottle. It looked like Sixto Sanchez was going to be the guy, a potential ace for the Miami Marlins, and unfortunately injuries took over. There were questions of how in shape he was. He came into spring training multiple times looking overweight. They tried him out in the bullpen here in 2024. It was kind of a last gasp for his Miami Marlin tenure. So Sixto Sanchez, they have outrighted him, and he did not accept that assignment. And so Sixto Sanchez is now a free agent after never completing a full season in Miami. He was the big centerpiece of that JT Realmuto trade. The Miami Marlins also received catcher Jorge Alfaro. Now, Alfaro didn't last long in Miami either. He did last longer, more or less, than Sixto Sanchez did. Alfaro played 3 seasons with Miami. Unfortunately, those 3 seasons were left some to be desired. 2019, 2020, and 2021. Alfaro, he did hit 18 homers with the Miami Marlins in 2019. He batted .262. Seemed like he was once a pretty high heralded prospect at one point in Philadelphia. It looked like Alfaro was finally coming into his own with Miami, but the consistency just never was quite there. And he was traded to the San Diego Padres after the 2021 season. And the last guy that the Miami Marlins acquired in that JT Realmuto trade was a guy by the name of Will Stewart. Will Stewart, last season in 2024, or this past season, I should say, he was playing in an independent league. Will Stewart never made it past the AAA stage of professional baseball. Of course, never made the Miami Marlins roster, and he was let go and wound up choosing free agency. And then, of course, like I said, was playing independent league, the Atlantic League, this past season. So 3 players in the Realmuto trade: Sixto Sanchez, Jorge Alfaro, Will Stewart. That course has ended. All those players are off the roster. And fair to say that the contributions from those 3 players were not great. All right, let's look at the Christian Yelich trade. The Giancarlo trade, the Yelich trade, the Realmuto trade, those all were kind of tied together. Marcell Ozuna as well. We'll get into that. So let's look at the Yelich trade. When the Miami Marlins traded Christian Yelich away to the Milwaukee Brewers. Key piece of that trade was Jordan Yamamoto. Jordan Yamamoto seemed like he was actually going to be a really solid pitcher for Miami. And Miami was looking like, okay, we got Sixto Sanchez, we got Sandy Alcantara already. We have some guys coming up, maybe Yuri Perez, and it's like, okay, Miami's got something cooking. But Yamamoto, unfortunately, just never hit that consistency stage of his career. Crossed 3 seasons in Miami, and it really wasn't 3 complete seasons. He really had 1 half season with Miami. That was 2019. 15 starts, a 4.46 ERA in that 2019 season. After that, he made 3 starts in 2020. And then in 2021, he made 1 start. In his career with Miami, 21 games, 19 starts, a 6.05 earned run average before he was DFA'd and then picked up by the New York Mets in 2021. Now he's actually coaching high school baseball in the state of Florida. Also acquired in that deal for Christian Yelich was Lewis Brinson. Lewis Brinson, once a very, very high touted prospect, he unfortunately did not work out for the Miami Marlins either. He was DFA'd. He wound up clearing waivers, meaning the other 29 teams in Major League Baseball did not want his services, although the Giants did wound up trading for Lewis Brinson once he was cleared waivers, accepted his assignment to AAA, and then he was traded away to San Francisco and didn't last long in San Francisco. Played just 16 games in San Francisco in 2022. And Lewis Brinson was last seen playing professional baseball in the Mexican League here in 2024. Also included in that deal was a kid by the name of Isan Diaz. He was also DFA'd. And another prospect in the deal was Monty Harrison. He was also DFA'd. So 4 players were acquired in the Christian Yelich deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. The Miami Marlins acquired Brinson, Diaz, Harrison, Yamamoto. All 4 of those players were DFA'd, and none of them made significant contributions to the Miami Marlins team. The last trade I want to detail, we'll talk about those who want a little bit as well, but the last complete failure of a trade that I want to discuss is the Giancarlo Stanton trade with the New York Yankees. This really started, this opened the floodgates for Miami's trading of all-stars. Giancarlo Stanton was traded to the New York Yankees in exchange for Starlin Castro. Now, Starlin Castro had a couple decent seasons with the Miami Marlins. Let's see what he ended up doing. 2 seasons in Miami. Played 154 games in 2018, 162 in 2019. Was always a high batting average guy, not necessarily a huge power guy. Former All-Star with the Chicago Cubs. He made an All-Star team with the Yankees. He did not make an All-Star team with the Miami Marlins. By this standard, though, we just kind of rolled through the trades that Miami has made with those All-Stars. By this standard, Starlin Castro is probably the best return that they received in any of these 3 trades. The Realmuto, Yelich, and Giancarlo trades. Starlin Castro is probably the best return they've got of any of these top prospects or supposed top prospects that they were getting in return. Also included in that Giancarlo deal was Jorge Guzman. He was outrighted. And Jose Devers, he was designated for assignment. Common theme, designated for assignment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players were designated for assignment that were included in these deals. Now, this should be mentioned because I had people in my mentions going berserk because I didn't include the Marcell Ozuna trade in my tweet. Marcell Ozuna was traded to the St. Louis Cardinals, and Miami Marlins got good returns for that. They got Sandy Alcantara in that deal, and they also got Zach Gallen. Gallen was eventually traded away to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Zach Gallen has become an all-star with them. But they were, in return for Gallen, to make a move, they were able to get Jazz Chisholm. But of course, Jazz Chisholm was traded away to the Yankees here in 2024. So if you want to die on that hill of saying, hey, Miami Marlins made a lot of bad trade, but Marcell Ozuna, if you want to die on that hill, that is your prerogative. But the Miami Marlins, that front office, especially before Kim Ng, Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, JT Realmuto, three guys, two MVPs, and all three of those guys, multiple time All-Stars, Gold Glovers. You trade away those three All-Stars, and you got, frankly, nothing in return. It's no wonder why Miami, who already doesn't have a high payroll, and you're not doing it front office wise, at least they hadn't been doing it back in the 2010s. This is why the Miami Marlins are where they are, because the prospects that they got in return for Giancarlo, Yelich, Realmuto, rough, very, very rough. So those three trades, done. Players are all off the roster. And yet Yelich is still with Milwaukee, JT is still with Philly, and Giancarlo is still with Yankees. They're still on the teams that they were traded to. And the Miami Marlins are left with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry, Marlins fans. Hate to rub salt on the wound, kick a guy while he's down, but that is the case. Speaking of St. Louis, we can move on. St. Louis, they're moving Willson Contreras, who they signed to be their catcher and fill in for Yadier Molina when Molina retired. Contreras is now moving to first base. Contreras was benched at one point 2 seasons ago because there were issues of his communication with the pitchers and his relationships with the pitchers and calling games and how he was doing defensively. So Willson Contreras seemingly was improving and seemingly had a good season defensively. The St. Louis Cardinals, John Mozeliak, and that front office is claiming that they want to extend the career of Willson Contreras with the bat in particular. And of course, Paul Goldschmidt is a free agent this offseason. So they are now planning to move Willson Contreras to first base starting immediately next season. More baseball news. I alluded to this at the top. The Oakland Athletics are no longer the Oakland Athletics. They have since dropped the name to just the Athletics. So they have no city attached to them. A lot of people probably remember an NFL team by the name of the Washington Football Team. Just a few years ago, they dropped the name, the mascot of the team. They were the Washington Football Team, and then they since changed to the Washington Commanders, of course. But the A's, they are not dropping the name, they are dropping the city. Of course, their plan, allegedly, is to build a new stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. The newest update on that, and this just came out this last week, Athletics owner John Fisher and his family is planning on investing $1 billion into the construction of a stadium in Las Vegas. And an investment by the name of U.S. Bank and Goldman Sachs will offer a $300 million loan. That's according to a club executive. Now, shovels haven't hit the ground in Vegas. They have cleared out the Tropicana area where the Tropicana Hotel once stood. That's since been demolished, and that at least is the plan for them is to build a stadium in that location. But again, shovels haven't hit the ground yet. They're planning on meeting in December. On December 5th, they're going to have a meeting that will discuss financing and will discuss timelines of when they can start construction, if they can start construction. Those will be basically final approvals will be made to potentially start constructing the $1.5 billion 33,000 seat domed ballpark in Las Vegas. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Oakland A's, now known as the Athletics, be careful what you hear from that front office because it's not always truthful. So we'll see if the shovels ever do hit the ground in Las Vegas. Of course, they will be playing the next couple seasons in the city of Sacramento. Speaking of that, the A's also announced that they put out their schedule for 2024. And believe me, there's no one more experienced on the weather of Sacramento, California than myself, because I, of course, live in the Sacramento area. I live in Rockland, California. I've lived in the Sacramento area for the last decade. And here's the issue. Now, they are setting a record for most night games. The Athletics are in Sacramento. Most people, of course, have day games on getaway days on typically Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on when the last game of the series is. And then, of course, on Sundays is typically a day game. Now, the Athletics, what they're doing is they're, at least the majority of those day games, they're trying to push as many as they can to night games. A lot of the reason is because the weather in Sacramento, California is blazing hot, people. It is hot in July and August. We're talking 105 110-degree days on a normal summer day. Now, I was in Philadelphia this last season. I was in Chicago this last season. I was in Pittsburgh this last season, and it was hot as hell those days when I was at the ballpark. We went in, I think it was July. It was a big time heat wave, and although it wasn't 105 degrees, it was 94 with humidity in the 80% or something like that, and it felt as it gives the real temperature and it gives the feel temperature. It said it was around the 105 to 110 degree range. So I'm not saying that the Athletics of Sacramento, if you will be the only team playing in heat, but the Athletics will play 1 p.m. games 3 weekends in the month of August. 1 p.m. games in August in Sacramento is not a good idea. In a AAA stadium that can only house about 15,000 tops in that ballpark, they're going to be playing games 1 p.m. Sacramento, California. I'm not going to guarantee you that every single one of those games in August are going to be 110 degrees, but 3 weekends, 3 1 p.m. games, there's a very, very high likelihood that one of those games is 105, 110 degrees, and there's not going to be anybody showing up for that game. Trust me, unless they're playing the Yankees and people want to stick it out. It's going to be an empty ballpark. So it's already a rough look for the Athletics, no longer known as the Oakland Athletics, now just the Athletics. A couple more news items before we get to free agents. Dodgers, of course, won the World Series, and the news that trickled in just this past week is that Shohei Ohtani, a lot of people already knew he was nursing a shoulder injury when he slid into second base. I think it was game 2 at Dodger Stadium. A lot of people thought it was a subluxation of the shoulder. At least that's what they originally reported it was. Turns out Ohtani had a torn labrum. So Ohtani played on a torn labrum, did not hit the ball well, and was clearly not the same player after that injury. Really didn't play super well the whole postseason, but he's a lot better before that injury. Also playing with injury, and a lot of people have heard this, is that Freddie Freeman, of course, the World Series MVP, was playing with a broken rib and a sprained ankle. Really cool story from ESPN, and Jeff Passan came out saying that Freddie had a conversation with his dad, and his dad actually said, like, you shouldn't play with this kind of injury. It's risking too much. And Freddie basically said, I'm playing. There's nothing getting in the way of me. So basically the Dodgers won a World Series with Ohtani having a torn labrum and Freddie Freeman playing on a bum ankle and broken rib. And when we did our World Series preview, I'm going to reiterate this same idea. I thought the Dodgers this season were a lot more likable than in seasons prior because they actually went through struggle this year. A lot of times what the Dodgers do when they do go through struggle is they just go and spend more money and they go and acquire more players. And they did that to a degree this year. They are still the Dodgers. They did still have what I would say is the highest payroll, although a lot of it is deferred money. They did still have one of the highest payrolls in Major League Baseball. They still spend a lot of money. But at the trade deadline, they acquired Tommy Edman, Michael Kopech. It really wasn't the superstar blockbuster trades that we have been accustomed to seeing. It wasn't a Trey Turner. It wasn't a Manny Machado. It wasn't a Max Scherzer at the deadline. The Dodgers basically said, look, our roster is what it is. We're dealing with injuries. Let's see what happens. Let's get some contributions from role players and see what happens. And they were able to, with broken players, Freeman, Ohtani, an entire starting rotation, a lot of them all-stars, including Kershaw and Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin, Tyler Glasnow. They basically had an all-star starting rotation on the injured list, and they were still able to hoist a trophy. And I think that's what made this Dodger team more rootable than in previous seasons, is because they really did go through struggle. This roster did. This season had to overcome a lot this season. Not a Cinderella story by any means. Talking about the Dodgers here, but they did absolutely overcome a lot injury-wise, and they still dominated the Yankees in 5 games to hoist the trophy. So I just want to allow me to catch my breath here for a second. Just take a listen to Freddie Freeman. The first clip that I'm going to share is after he hit the walk-off home run, the walk-off grand slam in Game 1 of the World Series. He shared a special moment with his father, and he basically shared what it meant to him to share that moment with his father.
What was that moment like with your dad?
Yeah, he's been throwing me batting practice since I could remember. My swing is because of him. My approach is because of him. I am who I am because of him. And all the batting practice, all the relentless hours we spent together on a baseball field, we still do it in the off seasons together. He still throws me batting practice. I think he was so nervous. If I could talk to him and talk, I bet he couldn't even. He was so nervous in that going into that, and I just wanted to share that with him because he's been there and he's been through a lot in his life too, and to, just to have a moment like that, I just wanted to be a part of it with him in that moment because that's mostly his moment. Because if he didn't throw me batting practice, if he didn't love the game of baseball, I wouldn't be here, playing this game. So that's Fred Freeman's moment right there.
That's Fred Freeman's moment right there. Guy just hit the first ever. It's never been done. How many times have we in the backyard imagined, anybody that's ever played baseball has imagined bases loaded. This was extra innings. Or was it bottom nine? Whatever it was. Everybody's imagined themselves bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, 2 outs. Most people probably would have imagined 3-2 count. In this case, it wasn't. It was first pitch. But everybody's imagined themselves basically in that exact same moment. And one player in the history of the universe there's only one player that's ever done it. One player that has hit a walk-off grand slam in the World Series. That was Freddie Freeman. He just got done doing that. And he said it wasn't even his moment. It's because his dad has been the guy that's been training him and throwing him batting in practice. And it wasn't Freddie Freeman's moment. It was Fred Freeman's moment. Very cool. One more clip that I want to share of Freddie Freeman. This was after they won Game 5, after they won the World Series in New York. And Freddie Freeman was asked what he learned about himself this year.
Freddie, you personally have also had quite the year.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself this season?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot in so many different ways. I wish I'd never had to go through what we did as a family, but ultimately Maximus is doing really, really well right now. He's a special boy, but it has been a grind for 3 months. It really has. It's been a lot. And then obviously with the injuries at the end, it makes it all worth it kind of in the end. I mean, I'll never compare Maximus to baseball. I won't. It's just two separate things. But with him doing really well now, it does mean a little bit extra.
For those that don't know, Freddie Freeman missed at least a week. I think it was in July, because his son Maximus was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a rare neurological disorder that affects the body nerves. And of course, Freddie just said that fortunately Maximus is doing very, very well. Freddie also broke a finger, and I want to say it was August, shortly after, or right around that same time period. Of course, he rolled his ankle after stepping on first base against the Padres, and I believe that was in September. So he was diagnosed with a sprained ankle. I already talked about how he was playing through a broken rib injury after sustaining that during a batting practice incident. Freddie Freeman went through a lot this year. So if you're a Giants fan, a Padre fan, whoever you are, you're rooting against the Dodgers, I find it very hard pressed to root against a guy like Freddie Freeman, who is just a guy that prides himself on integrity, never, ever been in the headlines for any negative reasons. Just a really good, down-to-earth human. And those two clips, I thought, were two of the best sound bites from the World Series and MLB playoffs. So one last congratulations to the Dodgers, and especially Freddie Freeman on winning the 2024 World Series. All right, let's look ahead. This episode is a lot about free agency, the offseason, and free agency is already here. We already saw 2 moves. It's going to be slow. Winter meetings aren't until December. This is actually the first week of November. Major League Baseball general managers are having their first get together, but typically what the past has told us is the MLB offseason is a slow burn. So Ohtani wasn't until December. Bryce Harper wasn't until February with the Phillies. I want to say Garrett Cole was around that same time period. A lot of the big dominoes to fall, which include this offseason, of course, will be Juan Soto. A lot of the big dominoes to fall likely won't take place for another month and a half. But so far, the Angels have been the team that have added 2 players so far, one of them via trade and one of them via free agency. On Wednesday, they signed Kyle Hendricks to a 1-year deal. Former All-Star with the Chicago Cubs, struggled last season, had an ERA up over 6. We'll see if the Angels will try him out as a starter or maybe a long relief guy. But Kyle Hendricks is heading to Southern California, as is Jorge Soler, who the Angels acquired via trade with the Atlanta Braves. So Jorge Soler, who got traded from the West Coast, I should say, was with the East Coast with Miami 2 years ago, then went to San Francisco, the West Coast, signed as an offseason free agent, then was traded from San Francisco over to Atlanta, and now he's going from Atlanta back to California with the Los Angeles Angels. So a busy couple of years for Jorge Soler. One stat that surfaced when I was putting together World Series stats after the Dodgers won it all, and it has to do with these Los Angeles Angels, is active wins above replacement leaders and how many World Series titles they have. So if you look at the top 7 active wins above replacement leaders right now, 6 of those 7 have World Series titles. And those same 6 of 7 not only have a World Series title, they all at least have 2 World Series titles. Active wins above replacement leaders as of today. Mike Trout is number 1 amongst active players, 85.7 career wins above replacement. After that, Justin Verlander, 82 wins above replacement. Clayton Kershaw, 76.4 career wins above replacement. Max Scherzer is 4th among active players, 73.2 wins above replacement. After that goes Freddie Freeman, 61.1. Mookie Betts, 59.7. And 7 on this list is Jose Altuve with a career 58.0 wins above replacement. Of course, what is the one thing that all those players have in common, with the exception of Mike Trout, is they all have at least two World Series titles. Verlander has 2. Kershaw now has 2. Max Scherzer has 2. Freddie Freeman now has 2. Mookie Betts now has 3 titles. I want to say he's the only active position player with 3 titles right now. And then, of course, Jose Altuve has 2 titles. And Mike Trout is, unfortunately, wins above replacement leader. A lot of people think he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is, of course, left with 0 titles, and in fact has never won a playoff series, Mike Trout. So your top 7 wins above replacement leaders, only one of them doesn't have a title. That's Mike Trout. So what does that mean? Well, Operation Get Mike Trout a World Series is absolutely in pursuit. They add Jorge Soler and Kyle Hendricks to the fold. Who else could the Angels sign and put next to Trout? Let's take a look at 2024, 2025 free agents, position by position. Start the catcher's position. Kyle Higashioka, he actually was on a 162-game pace of 30-plus home runs this last season, if you include his postseason stats. He was a big contributor for the Padres behind the dish. He wound up becoming their starter after Luis Campusano didn't quite work out, but didn't quite provide consistent production. So Higashioka, 35-year-old catcher, at a 2.9 wins above replacement this last year. In limited fashion, he only played just over 80 games. So Higgy is going to be a free agent. Travis Darnaud, they did not pick up his option in Atlanta. He will be a free agent. Danny Jensen, Gary Sanchez, Carson Kelly, Yasmani Grandal, Austin Hedges. Hedges actually just, I should correct that. Hedges just re-signed with the Cleveland Guardians today. Hedges is no longer available. Elias Diaz, Jacob Stallings, James McCann, Yan Gomes are among the catchers that are available in free agency. As we move over to the first base position, of course, a lot of these free agents and free agency lists are courtesy of MLB.com. First baseman available in free agency, Christian Walker. Star-studded season this last year. Should have been an all-star, was left off the all-star roster. Should have made it, in my opinion, over Pete Alonso. Unfortunately, he was left off, but Christian Walker is a free agent. 6.8 wins above replacement last season. The Diamondbacks did offer him a qualifying offer, but the likelihood of him accepting that is very, very low. So Christian Walker will likely be available. Dodger killer, too, by the way. Pete Alonso, I just alluded to. A little bit of a foreshadow, I guess. Pete Alonso is a free agent. A lot of people think the Yankees are going to be involved there. So Pete Alonso, nobody has hit more home runs since he broke onto the scene with the Mets 5 seasons ago. Nobody's hit more home runs than Pete Alonso. Carlos Santana, the vet, he is available. Probably going to get another 1-year deal because he just keeps earning it. Paul Goldschmidt, he is a free agent. Justin Turner, Donovan Solano, Wilmer Flores, Joey Gallo, Anthony Rizzo, Ty France, and Rowdy Tellez are amongst those free agents at the first base position. Kick it over to second base. Gleyber Torres. The Yankees have a lot of decisions to make this offseason. It's amazing you say that about a team that just was in the World Series a week ago, but they have a lot of question marks. They declined the option on Anthony Rizzo, so they got to fill first base. And Gleyber Torres is now a free agent, and they're going to have to fill that second base position as well. They got the Garrett Cole situation figured out. Garrett Cole's going to come back, so he's not on the market. So Cole's coming back, but the Yankees have some question marks, including Gleyber Torres. Other second basemen include Whit Merrifield, Kyle Farmer, Jorge Polanco, Brandon Drury, Adam Frazier, Tony Kemp, and Joey Wendell. Kick it over to the third base position. The biggest ticket at the hot corner, at least this offseason, is going to be Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman, 2-time World Series winner. Few people, you can count them on one hand, the amount of players that have higher wins above replacement than Alex Bregman since he first made his debut with Houston. He's now 31 years old. So we saw San Diego offer Xander Bogaerts a 10-year deal. We've seen Aaron Judge sign a mega deal. Now, Bregman might not be on the same level as an Aaron Judge, but Alex Bregman could certainly point to the Xander Bogaerts contract and say, hey, Trey Turner, similarly in Philadelphia, Bregman could say, hey, who wants to offer me an 8, 9, maybe even 10-year deal? We'll see if somebody wants to take that bait. Other third basemen include Yohan Moncada. The White Sox declined the option on him. He was, of course, the big centerpiece in a trade for Chris Sale years ago. Gio Urshela, Luis Arias, and Brian Anderson, also free agents. Staying on the left side of the infield, shortstops. Willy Adames, going to be a big ticket item this offseason. 29-year-old shortstop, 8.0 wins above replacement this last season with Milwaukee. A lot of playoff experience, good defensively, power bat. Ever since he was traded over from Tampa to Milwaukee, he's flourished with the bat, a guy that's capable of hitting 30-plus homers. As a good defensive shortstop, he's going to be highly lucrative item on the market, Willy Adames. Ha-Seong Kim, very strong 2023 campaign, Gold Glover, but this last season, 2024 in San Diego, injuries took over, lost the spot at shortstop, a lot of it because of the injuries and partially performance-based. He just wasn't swinging the bat at a consistent level this year. Ha-Seong Kim, still very elite defensively, platinum glove potential. Jose Iglesias, phenomenal season with the New York Mets. Paul DeJong, a guy that's capable of hitting 20-plus pops. Ahmed Rosario, Nick Ahmed, Brandon Crawford, Aledmys Diaz, and Tim Anderson, who, of course, nobody signed him once he was released this last season from Miami, but he is available. Left fielders. Tyler O'Neill, who had a very typical Tyler O'Neill season in Boston, really fell in love with that green monster wall in left field, that short porch. How many home runs did Tyler O'Neill end up with last year? Tyler O'Neill, 241 last year with 31 homer. I didn't realize he had 30-plus pops. Tyler O'Neill, and he was hurt for a portion of the season. Tyler O'Neill, 113 games, just 411 at-bats, and he had 31 pops last season. This was his first healthy season since 2021. In 2021, Tyler O'Neill had 34 pops with St. Louis. So he's had 2 healthy seasons, and he has had 30 pops in each of those seasons. Tyler O'Neill is available. Jurickson Profar was an all-star, incredible story this year after being one of the highest prospects that baseball has seen in some time. Never quite worked out with Texas, was moved around from Texas to Oakland to San Diego to Colorado and back to San Diego. And of course, he became an all-star for the first time at 32 years old. Jurickson Profar is a free agent. Mark Canha, Michael Conforto, Alex Verdugo, another question mark for the Yankees. Tommy Pham, Travis Jankowski, Jesse Winker, Adam Duvall, David Peralta, Robbie Grossman, Eddie Rosario, and Ben Gamel. Some of your left fielders that are available in free agency. Center fielders. The list is small. Not a ton of center fielders are available in free agency, which could cause some competitive offers for the guys that are available. Although none of them are A-listers. Harrison Bader, he's going to be a free agent. He got a 1-year deal with the Mets this last offseason, so he's going to hit free agency again. Michael A. Taylor, really more of a fourth outfielder type. He's available, as is Garrett Hampson. Hampson's kind of a utility guy. He played with Miami this last season. He was with Colorado for a while. Kevin Pillar, he said that he said this last season was going to be his last. He's going to announce his retirement. That hasn't become official yet, so Pillar technically is listed as a free agent. Aaron Hicks, Manuel Margot, and Kike Hernandez. A lot of these guys in center field are either fourth outfielders or utility type players. But a lot of them will be highly sought after because, as we saw with the Dodgers, Kike Hernandez, you need guys like that come postseason time when guys go down. Now we get to the right field position, which is the hottest ticket on the market, and that's going to be Juan Soto. He just turned 26 years old last week or a week and a half ago, right before game one of the World Series. 14.2 wins above replacement. Juan Soto is probably going to finish second in MVP voting. You could make the case that you could offer him a 12, 13, 14-year deal, because even that he might not even be 40 years old. If you give him a 14-year deal, depending on when the playoffs end, Juan Soto would only be 39 years old. Juan Soto has already declined an extension offer from the Washington Nationals, which was reported to be well over $400 million. There were rumors that he was at least discussed an extension with the Padres, and that probably would have likely exceeded $400 million. That was not finalized, of course. So I think we'll get into free agency predictions on another episode. Today is just kind of listing free agents. But in my opinion, it's going to come down to whoever writes the biggest check to Juan Soto, whomever that might be. San Francisco, the Dodgers, the Yankees, certainly the New York Mets. Maybe there's a dark horse involved somewhere there as well. The Tampa Bay Rays, I don't know. We'll discuss predictions on another episode. But Juan Soto is going to probably receive somewhere upwards of $500 to maybe even $600 million. Won't exceed $700 that Shohei got, but maybe it could creep up to $600 million. 26-year-old outfielder. Anthony Santander has been an absolute workhorse for the Baltimore Orioles and their complete turnaround of a franchise. And he had an all-star season, having well over, 30 or 40 home runs this year for Santander. 44 home runs this season for Anthony Santander, hitting the middle of the order. He's going to get paid because whoever misses out on Juan Soto is going to need a power-hitting left-handed right fielder. Anthony Santander is probably plan B for a lot of those squads. Teoscar Hernandez is going to get paid. I would love to see him land back with the Dodgers. One of my favorite players in all of baseball, and I think he just fits that culture and that team so well. He's a free agent. Max Kepler, Jason Hayward, and Randall Grichuk, also free agents. Jock Peterson declined his option with the Diamondbacks as we roll into designated hitter free agents. He's a free agent. JD Martinez, Andrew McCutchen, Daniel Vogelbach. Somebody please sign Daniel Vogelbach because he's like 20 at-bats short of the all-time most at-bats never having stolen a base in his career. Something like 20 at-bats short. So if he accrues 20 more at-bats in the big leagues and he doesn't steal a base, Vogelbach will be the most at-bats without a stolen base in Major League Baseball history. Somebody's got to sign Daniel Vogelbach. And Eloy Jimenez and Matt Carpenter, also free agents. All right, let's go over to the bump. Starting pitchers that are available in free agency. We already named one, Kyle Hendricks. He just signed with the Los Angeles Angels. I wonder, the rumors have already started, if the Angels would be in on Corbin Burns, who is a free agent. The Angels have been trying to land an ace, including Garrett Cole 3 seasons ago. They've been trying to land an ace for some time now. Of course, Kyle Hendrick is not that guy. Corbin Burnes absolutely is that guy. We'll talk predictions again on another episode, but Corbin Burnes is available. Blake Snell opted out of his player option, or he had a player option. He declined with San Francisco. So Blake Snell, who just signed with San Francisco seemingly 2 days ago, it was either the week of opening day or the week before opening day, and Blake Snell never got a spring training. He finally signed with San Francisco. We'll see if Boris in that free agency quickens up for Blake Snell. Hopefully it does. UC Kikuchi is dominant last season with Houston since Houston acquired him from Toronto. That's an intriguing figure. He's available. Max Fried, perennial all-star. Either a number one, if not a number one, definitely a number two starter in this league. Nathan Eovaldi, he opted out of his contract with the Rangers, still 35 years old. Jack Flaherty, just coming off winning a World Series with the Dodgers, was an all-star this last year before he got traded. Nick Martinez, another really solid campaign with the Cincinnati Reds this season. Kyle Gibson, Justin Verlander, Nick Pivetta, Sean Manaea was phenomenal this last year with the New York Mets. Sean Manaea is going to get paid this offseason, I should say. Charlie Morton, he said he is wanting to come back for another season. It's hard to imagine him anywhere but Atlanta. 41 years old, Charlie Morton. Andrew Heaney, Clayton Kershaw, Shane Bieber, Max Scherzer, Patrick Corbin, Jose Quintana, Michael Lorenzen, Mike Clevenger, Alex Cobb, Lance Lynn, Matthew Boyd, Colin Ray, Luis Severino just had a phenomenal season. I mean, that whole Mets rotation really just had a great, great year. Especially, you lose Kodai Senga midseason. Didn't have Kodai Senga really all season. They really over Peterson and Manaea and Severino, and they really overperformed. Adrian Hauser, Frankie Montas, as we continue on with free agent starting pitchers. Anthony DeSclafani, Wade Miley, Martin Perez, Ross Stripling, Zach Davies, Domingo Herman, Marco Gonzalez, Chris Flexen, John Means. We're getting closer to the end here, folks. Stay with me. John Means, Spencer Turnbull, Jordan Lyles, Julio Teheran. God, he's still in the league. He's only 34, too, Julio Teheran. I feel like he's been here for 3 decades. Jose Urquidy, Alex Wood, Dallas Keuchel, Michael Soroka, Carlos Carrasco, Walker Buehler. That's interesting. Chase Anderson, Yanni Trinos, Brad Keller, and finally, Jose Urania. I'm not going to bore you with the entire list of relief pitchers that are available. I will list off what Major League Baseball has listed on their website, which is organized by the highest wins above replacement this last year, starting with Tanner Scott. Scott was fantastic for the Miami Marlins and San Diego Padres this last year. 98 plus from the left side, dominated Shohei Ohtani in that National League Divisional Series as well. A 4.5 wins above replacement last year. 30-year-old left-handed closer type Tanner Scott. Jeff Hoffman was an all-star last year with the Phillies. He's a free agent. Aroldis Chapman had a good season. Not quite as the closer with the Pirates last year. More as a setup guy. He's a free agent. David Robertson, Clay Holmes was the closer for the Yankees before losing that role, of course, to Luke Weaver. Kenley Jansen is a free agent once again. Carlos Estevez is a free agent once again. Kirby Yates was an all-star last year with the Texas Rangers. He is a free agent. Jose Leclerc, longtime Texas Ranger. Jacob Junis, AJ Minter, Craig Kimbrell, Paul Sewald, Blake Trinan, Hector Neris, Andrew Chafin, Joe Kelly, and Will Smith. There's a lot of other guys listed here, including Jesse Chavez, but it's a laundry list of guys. Just know that you can head over to either cbssports.com or mlb.com, and they'll have the complete position-by-position list of free agents. It's a lot of guys. I'm kind of out of breath, but I'll catch my breath. I will make some predictions for you. I will ask my colleagues. I will do my research. And when I come back and we talk again, we'll make some actual free agent predictions for this offseason, starting, of course, biggest ticket, Juan Soto. Oh, I almost completely forgot. No, I did forget. If you're watching on YouTube, you probably noticed a hard cut. It's because I did forget, but I remembered after I had already hit done recording. But Field of Dreams, I teased it at the beginning of the episode. I didn't even get to tell you what I was teasing. So I'll add it here in the middle of the show. So if it sounds a little funky, it's because I forgot. But now I remember. Anyways, Field of Dreams realization. Okay, a lot of people have seen Field of Dreams. Kevin Costner, the Ghost, the Shoeless Joe Jackson, building the field and the cornfield. I don't think I need to explain the movie. If you haven't seen Field of Dreams, watch it. What I didn't realize until this last time, I don't know, time number 55 of watching Field of Dreams, is that Doc never actually recorded an at-bat in the movie or in his career. Now, Doc, Moonlight Graham, it's based on a real character, and Hollywood dramatized it a little bit. The real life Moonlight Graham did actually, the story goes is that he's a doctor and he decided to hang up his career, hang up the cleats in his baseball career because he was tired of playing minor league baseball. The whole thing with Archibald Moonlight Graham is that he got to appear in one baseball game across his baseball career, one MLB game, but he never actually got an at-bat. And so when Kevin Costner goes and gets Moonlight Graham and brings him to the Field of Dreams in Iowa, he, of course, in the movie, he gets to play with Shoeless Joe and who I don't even remember who else was out there, but the biggest stars, and he gets to live out his dream, basically. But what I realized this last time watching the movie is, the whole premise is that Moonlight Graham, he played in one game, but he never actually got an at-bat. And he always wanted to get an at-bat in the big leagues. And when he brings him to Iowa, seemingly, we're all like, oh, he finally gets the at-bat. He finally got an at-bat in the big leagues. But as it turns out, he actually didn't get an at-bat. Moonlight Graham never got an at-bat, not when he was a real player, if you will. And he didn't get an at-bat in the field in Iowa. So Moonlight Graham, I'm going to play the video right now. Moonlight Graham hit a sac fly in his only at-bat before, at least what they showed on camera, the only at-bat he got before he converted back when he was saving the daughter in the scene. He converted back to a doctor. He went from baseball ghost to Dr. Ghost, and then Dr. Ghost, of course, walks out into the field and disappears into the unknown. But he never actually got an at-bat. So the whole premise was that he never got an at-bat in the big leagues, but in Iowa, he finally got his moment to get an at-bat. Now, technically, he got a plate appearance, but a sacrifice fly does not count as an at-bat. So here, I'll play the video clip for you here.
So look for low and away.
Right.
But watch out for in your ear.
Come on, Archie! Get it! Batter! Come on, Arch. This takes one.
Never hit it, kid. Holly. 4 years ago, come on, baby.
Yeah. That's deep enough. Tag it up! Hey! Way to go, Arch! Way to go! Way to go! This is the way! We do it! Way to go, kid!
All right, so that was his only at-bat, at least shown in the movie. That was the only at-bat he ever got. The only problem is that it wasn't actually an at-bat. It's a plate appearance. So he still hasn't had an at-bat in the big leagues, whether it be the real big leagues or the Iowa big leagues. Now, this was the scene where he converted back into a doctor.
Just wait.
What do we got here?
She fell.
This child's choking to death.
Got her up.
Hold it steady now. Hot dog. Stuck in her throat. Oh, she'll be all right. She'll be turning handsprings before you know it.
So again, at least they didn't show in the movie that he ever got another at-bat or plate appearance. So he didn't get an at-bat in the big leagues. He didn't get an at-bat in Iowa. He got a plate appearance. Again, a sacrifice fly, which is what Moonlight Graham did in his one at-bat shown in the movie. It was not an at-bat. It was a plate appearance. So as it turns out, Moonlight Graham never got an at-bat in the big leagues, never got an at-bat in the fake Dreamville, Field of Dreams big leagues either. There you go. So next episode, predictions. But start making your wish list now, people. Christmas is a short time away. Who do you want your team to sign? Leave us a comment on our YouTube page. Leave us a review on Spotify. Leave us a 1-star review if you know. Don't do that. 5 stars only, people. 5 stars only. Hit us with a review, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on social media at Wake and Rake Pod. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk soon next time when we talk free agency predictions. So long, people.